republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, welcome everybody to the January 22nd, 9:30 a.m. work session of the Southampton Town Board of Trustees. I will ask the Secretary Treasurer to start with the roll call.
President Scott M. Horowitz.
I am here.
Secretary Treasurer Ed Warner Jr. I'm here. Richard T. Marin.
Here.
Joseph R. McLaughlin.
Here.
Matt Parsons.
Here. All right.
Mr. President, we have everybody here. So
All right, that's great. Welcome everybody. Nice and cold out. Nice and warm in here though. Let's jump right into it. We've got a lot on the work session agenda, so we'll get right to it. Land Use Ecological, 17 Leeward LLC. How are you, sir?
Good, how are you? A little warmer today. This is a reconstruction of a small dock, thank you, that is on Leeward Court in Quogue. There was a dock there, it was in disrepair. The house is being renovated, so of course we're coming here to get the dock renovated as well. They've maintained the same 50-foot buffer that was required in the past permits. And that's about it.
Okay. Board a little information here. See?
You know, again, we're replacing the existing dock with an open grate, meeting all the Blue Book
Meeting all the Blue Book regulations.
Yeah.
James?
You're proposing chocks because it's, the corners are below 2.5 feet, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, I see that.
That's right. But it's kind of tucked into a little cove there, as in was the existing dock.
And do you have the distance across the channel?
Distance across the channel is 70 feet from the prolongation of that cove. Oh, it's in a cove. So if you took a straight line between the edges of the cove across the to the other side of the canal, it's 70 feet. But we're well outside that because we're in the cove.
And you have all the other permits from the other regulatory authorities?
Yes, yes.
You're all set?
Yep.
Look at this.
Chip? See it?
Yeah,
It's tucked in.
okay.
So if we go from, if you want to look at the edge of the shoreline on the east side, you know, not counting the cove, it's 70 feet across. So we're not but we try to keep it so we're not
You're still meeting the test.
Yeah, and it's adequate, width for navigation and depth of water, so it's not interfering with that. So
You all right?
Yeah, is there no additions or anything, really?
No, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's
I'm all
okay.
good. Yeah.
You good?
it's an upgrade because you're going to get light penetrating decking and
Exactly.
Yeah.
better for the environment all around.
Okay, I would say you're good to advance.
Thank you. I have one other one. while
Yeah,
I'm
why
sitting
don't
here.
you, yeah.
It's 11 Tiana Circle. Reconstruction of a bulkhead. There's two sections of bulkhead. One is all vinyl sheet piling. 60 feet on the west side. Had an existing timber decking behind it. There's actually a two-tier wall in that section, so that's going to be replaced. The balance of the property to the east, which is 92 feet, the area behind the bulkhead is heavily vegetated, and that's all gonna be maintained.
God bless you.
Interesting property. Oh, and there's also a small platform, 4x4 platform with access stairs, which is very similar to what all the neighbors have off their bulkhead.
All this decking thing.
Let's see. Reconstruct existing bulkhead in place of landward of the existing proposed access stairs to the water / beach area. 152 plus or minus linear feet of new vinyl in place or landward of the existing.
Right.
Bulkhead height is proposed to remain the same, at elevation 7.5, and will tie into the existing bulkhead to the northwest and the existing return to the southeast. The existing deck area, 18 inches plus or 18 plus or minus landward of the bulkhead is proposed.
Yeah, the decking is functional. It's fine, it needs to be.
Reconstructed in place utilizing non-treated material. The naturally vegetated wetland non-disturbance non-fertilization buffer is to remain. Revegetated as required. 70 plus or minus cubic yards of fill from an upland source of proposed landward of the reconstructed bulkhead. The fixed platform will be open grate.
Can I see those pictures of this?
3 by 12 retractable aluminum stairs.
Correct.
You got 18 feet,
Oh, this is it's called an 18-foot of decking
18
here.
feet wide, yeah. Is that
No,
what it
this
is?
is
That's
not
what it is.
18 feet, right?
Yes,
Yes.
18 feet.
Yeah.
yes. Oh, it's a big wide deck.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's
it's been there.
it's permitted?
Well, it's been there. The house has been there since, I don't know,
probably
probably
not
the
even-
50s.
So there was no CO?
Huh?
There was no CO originally? So was it?
Not
is it
not on the deck. I don't
Yeah.
believe.
So there's no,
There's no pre-existing?
you have nothing, James?
Huh?
Not that I could see.
You haven't found?
I mean, what we could find, it was pre-existing, you know. it's-
It's been added onto multiple times over.
Oh, my God. It
Yes.
was owned by some, apparently some little old lady who maintained it.
I mean, it looks like it's been there for quite
No, it's been there for a long time.
a long time, is what it looks like, just
So what are you asking to do? Replace this decking?
Yeah,
or-
just replace the decking and then keep
But
the rest of
you'd
it
only
the same.
you'd only get not the 18 feet wide, because we wouldn't take jurisdiction over that. We would take jurisdiction over the 10-foot, right, James?
Right.
So, but wait a second,
But-
you got, so,
There's two sets of bulkheads.
Yeah.
There's an upland bulkhead.
There's an
and a
upland
down-
bulkhead.
so we're not
Correct.
touching that one.
Not touching the
We're
upland
just doing this
bulkhead.
one.
Yep.
It's just the lower bulkhead we're doing.
So we're looking to make the bottom one into, conform to our rules and regulations.
Right, since there's no prior permit, it's
Yeah.
problematic.
Okay.
Can you
Well, we can, again.
adjust that and then, you know,
Sure.
get a reasonable amount of decking there and then do the rest of it with a
Buffer?
buff, yeah.
Oh, sure.
I think
My
we're
question
probably-
would be, put 10 feet wide? Since
Well-
it's already pre-existing?
One section of it, but not the whole,
Not the whole show, you'd have to have some.
Oh,
kind
we're
of
only
buffer in
we're
there.
only talking about the western section now.
But
the
you're,
northern section.
what is the,
so let's see, we've got 18 feet by, the
Is-
existing
linear
deck area,
foot.
18 foot landward of the bulkhead proposed to be reconstructed in place.
The 92 feet, the other section of it,
Yeah, but
There-
it's
there's
still-
no
I mean,
decking.
It's still not within the current
I-
blue book that we have. If
Right.
it's- If it's not, I mean,
I think what you gotta do is hold this one and then go back there and talk to your client and figure out what type of compromise we can work out here so that we can get this into conformity with the blue book on that section of the project.
well, if we do like a 10-foot buffer behind the bulkhead and then have the rest as decking that's being replaced.
I think you really gotta talk with the homeowner of what
Oh, yeah.
they
Oh,
wanted,
no. Oh, yeah.
what they wanted to.
Well,
look
what
like.
they want is
If they
to.
wanted to have like, you know, like native, I mean, obviously we're gonna ask for native vegetations within 10 foot because that's our jurisdiction.
Sure,
but,
sure.
You know, you
I
kinda,
get that.
you
yeah.
might wanna dial them in a little bit and say, I don't think
Yeah,
we're gonna
yeah.
get the
Right.
whole 18 foot.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
Right, Chuck, I think,
I don't have a problem.
no,
One of the problems I have with it is that with that much decking there and you get a storm, it gets torn up. It just, you know, unless it's properly put down and, you know, it's just problematic all around.
right. I think on this one, it makes sense to hold this one, go back to the drawing board
No,
for a
that's
minute,
fine.
come back with a,
Ten-
the rest of it, you know what I mean? That's where we're getting jammed up here at this
Okay.
board. Is I think just make some adjustments on that to get it more into conformity or into conformity
Yeah.
with Blue Book regulation, and then I think that will
Well,
be,
and also that it has been a compromised body of water for decades, and we've managed to work with Cornell and the college and all the shellfish sanctuaries that we put in the area to bring back better water quality. So I think cutting back the decking and using some natural buffers is gonna be a plus for the
And
environment
I don't
and
have
a
a problem with it.
contribution to the
Yeah.
property.
You know, the homeowner, I mean, it's there, and bought it like that, they'd like to sit down.
Yeah.
So I get it.
yeah, that's just not gonna, it's not gonna work out. I mean, all in all, you're almost there, but I think you just need to have
Yeah.
another session with them.
Not a problem.
And then just sit with that Blue Book and get it where it, so we'll put that on hold and wait for that one to come back.
And then we're done.
You don't have anything else
Nope.
on there,
Nope,
right? So we'll hold that one,
yep,
advance the other one,
and thank you.
we'll see you. So when you get it together, if you could give me a call or,
Yeah.
and let me know.
Sure, yeah, we'll send it back to the engineer. The owners are actually pretty
They're
easy.
good to work with. They should understand it.
Yep,
You see the drain underneath Noyak Road is being fixed as we talk, and the LYs are gonna have a nice clear run all the way
I
up.
can't wait to see it.
Yeah.
I know, I can't wait to see it. They're gonna do the other culvert too, right?
Well, on North Sea Road,
Yeah.
they weren't, but I think they are now. I mean, we've sent letters to them advising them that
Well,
it needs to
they
be.
have the orange barricades there. so
Oh, I know,
I
because-
assume that they're gonna go from one to the
They
other.
hit the guardrail there and they're afraid they're gonna fall into the culvert. I'll keep you posted on it, all right?
I wish you would.
Yep.
Thanks.
All right, the next one, I've got Glenn Just, right, JMO? Kenneth Griner, 30 Penniman Point Road. Hello there, sir.
Good morning, everyone.
Hey, Glenn.
How's things?
Good.
Look good yourself. All right, so you're proposing a 4-foot by 273-foot fixed dock with rails utilizing through-flow decking with a set of 4-by-6 axis stairs at the landward end and a ladder at the seaward end. 173-foot landward end of the fixed dock will be constructed of 4.5 above grade and remaining 26 to 30 above grade, right? You have
This is a renewal.
renewal.
Yep.
Technically, it's not, it's because the original one expired, so
Okay.
it's an application.
So basically, it's the request for a new application of a prior approved plan.
Correct.
Was there any changes at all to this?
It doesn't appear so.
And you have everybody else's permit already on this?
Yes, everything's in hand, including the village building permit,
Okay. So you got every I dotted, every T crossed.
Penniman's
except for the trustees.
Core
Except for the
Canal is
trustees.
here.
When was this first issued?
And we had went through this about 2 years ago? At least
2018.
18.
at least 2 years ago. We went back and forth with the water depth and the length and everything. I remember this.
Yep.
And I think we came to a good project there.
Right. That's why I was asking if anything's been modified or changed,
No.
based on all the work that was. So she all meets, still meeting all the Blue Book regulations?
It's up to you guys because it goes out to 100 feet and, the distance is 1.8, sorry, the depth of water is 1.8.
Yeah, I think We let them get to the 1.8 is appreciable.
Yeah, at high tide, we could get a Boston whaler in
Right.
there, very similar to the person on the point about 4 houses south of them.
Yep.
They have a 16-foot Boston whaler with a small dock like this.
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
So
Kayak.
it's very similar to what we have approved in the area in the past.
You good,
I'm good with it.
Joseph? Yeah. All right, so that one can advance. What else do you have?
That's it.
Okay.
For that one, I think we just need,
Any new plans? Stamp plans?
stamp plans.
Okay.
What is it?
Stamp plans. Because now the requirements in 2018 were different than they are now, so you're gonna need stamped engineer plans.
I think those were.
Uh,
No, there was a licensed surveyor that did the work for me.
Are they in the file? Not in the file?
I don't see it.
I'll get
Alright.
another
Yeah,
set, but
if
they
you-
were,
Okay, so for it to actually get to the next step, get a copy of that if you've already got them, get them over to James,
okay.
okay? That
Yeah,
way
they
we're-
don't seem to have a stamp on what they were prepared by a licensed surveyor, so I'll have them stamp them up.
Okay.
All right.
All right, well,
Get it
thank
to
you very
James.
much.
All right. Now I've got First Coastal. Robert Cavallino, 20 Corwin Lane is the one we're gonna start with.
Hello, everybody.
Morning, Billy.
Billy Mack, First Coastal. Nice to see the new board members. Congratulations, you guys.
So how did this property fare for the last 2 storms that we had?
They got beaten up again. They lost some more of the upper bluff. It's
Okay.
kind of collapsing into the...
Which is on the southeast corner of the property.
Yeah. So all those south swells,
Yeah.
generated a nice
Here you go.
swell there that overtopped the existing rock revetment. So this property has got existing permitted rock revetment that, I don't remember the exact date of installation, but it's in need of repair. Essentially, we're proposing to rebuild it by adding about 40 tons of riprap, small stone, and about 60 tons of larger stone to rebuild it in a format that it will actually help protect the upper property. Right now, it's being overtopped, as I said, and the upper bluff is collapsing into the bay. So it's pretty straightforward. We'd essentially take the structure apart and rebuild it in a conforming, more protective format, and then revegetate with beach grass and native vegetation.
James, can you give us an overview, a GIS overview of the area so we can get an understanding, because it's,
Yeah. So
did
this
you wanna-
portion of the shoreline's all protected.
Yes.
And this revetment here, the revetments that are north of it were built much more substantially. This one here was not built as robust, and therefore that's why it's failing and needs to be attended to. So this property in this little cove, the rocks are being overtopped right there, and they're losing some of that upper bluff. It's a higher elevation bluff there, so it's now starting to collapse into that, or on top of the rocks.
So when I met on site with you, we discussed the northern end of the project that it was done, and the southern end where it matches up to the bulkhead
Exactly.
are pretty much the heights we're looking. It
Right.
has like a little bit of a swale down in this area,
That's right.
and that's why it's getting washed out.
Yeah, exactly. The bulkhead to the south is very high, or another, I don't know, probably foot or plus higher, as is the rock revetment to the north. So ideally, we'd want to just bring it up to the matching elevations. You can see that the boulders are kind of disorganized, and this is before the most recent storms that we've had. So where that paddleboard is, all that land has been washed away, and that vegetation is now exposed. So the idea is to get it up a little bit higher, consistent with the adjacent properties, and build it uniform. You can see how unorganized it is right now with the stone all over the place.
And you're looking to put some clean fill there and revegetate the area that is eroded?
Exactly right. Backfill with clean sand and revegetate with Cape American beach grass.
When was the original riprap put down?
Good question. I think it was after Sandy, to tell you the truth. It might have been before that. Do you have any idea?
No, I think it was after Sandy.
Yeah.
James, you have any historical data on that?
Not on me, no.
Accessible?
Go
Look through
back.
the aerials.
Yeah.
Go to 18, and I think we should,
Yeah, it's still there.
is there at 18, 16?
13. Yeah, so 13, it wasn't there. There it is. So was that 16? 14, okay. Yeah,
10 years ago.
so after Sandy.
Well, when they redid the bulkhead on the property to the east, it really exacerbated the erosion on that little cove there.
It did, it did. I mean, I understand that that was an existing bulkhead that was rebuilt.
It was, yeah.
But over time, this little cove has really been taking a beating, and certainly prior to Sandy.
Lot of
And I
energies.
believe the bulkhead that was previously there was lower than what was put in.
That's right.
Yeah, so that's probably why it's eating above the rubble now.
Yep, yeah, it's
When we
pushing
get
that
a high-
energy,
We get a high tide, then it's just eating the top of your rubble pile.
yeah, pushing that energy right up against it.
Yeah. I mean, that does have a nice beach, low tide, and that'll probably maintain itself. It's just the overtopping during episodic storms that we're seeing that type of erosion.
So I met with a consultant at the site, and this is what we discussed, and I think it's a good project to, basically save what property there is there on the southeast corner. Otherwise, if something isn't done, it's gonna eventually just keep eroding back.
Yeah, and you can see how close it is to the
It'll start cutting into the neighbors behind their bulkhead.
it's almost starting to do that now. That's right.
You gotta properly disperse that energy.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's really protection during the big events.
Which we've had 3 of this year already.
Yeah.
Seems like every weekend almost.
Anything facing the south has gotten beaten up.
Well,
You good?
I'm-
You all right?
I'm good with it.
You good, Chip?
Yeah, that's it.
Joseph?
Yep.
All right.
Stamp plans,
Sure, we'll do.
Hey, James, could you just earmark that one for the Noyak property we were looking at the other day? Over in Noyak?
Yeah.
Just kind of parallel them and see what we can speak about it in another session for the other board members. Seems like a similar kind of situation in a way.
Want to,
This property has bulkheading and.
It has bulkheading on both sides.
Yeah.
That's the problem we're running into.
you wanna talk about his other one while he's sitting here?
You want to do?
Prepared for that?
Silverstein, yeah, do you feel like talking about that, Joe?
So I did visit the site last week with the building, and I did,
We're gonna go to the next, first coastal, which is David Silverstein.
49
Waters Edge Road.
Water's Edge, yeah.
I don't know if you saw this.
Yeah, I did see this. This is a memo from the town. Is that
Conservation.
Conservation Department. Interesting memo. It does not indicate that, and I understand that the board's position, the Conservation Board's position is not necessarily in favor of any hardened structures anywhere. But this bulkhead was installed in the late 60s, well before this property owner had purchased it.
So let's back up just for a second
Do
here.
an overview of.
Yeah, well, let's do me a
Yeah.
favor, put the application up first. Let's, this way the public gets on the same page as us. Let's just back up for a second. All right, so this is an application to replace an existing bulkhead in place with new low-sill bulkhead, approximately 67 feet. You want to construct a new retaining wall 4 foot landward of that bulkhead, approximately 75 feet. A 4 foot wide buffer landward of the bulkhead with Spartina patents. Another 6 foot wide buffer landward of the retaining wall. And then you want to do a 4x21 catwalk, a 3x12 ramp, 6x20 float, a couple of 8-inch piles. You're going to use open grade decking, On the catwalk and ramp, there'll be no treated wood in the project, right? So that is what the request is on the application.
That's correct, thank you. And just for history on this, this is this property here. Back in the late 60s, the property owner took it upon themselves to install a bulkhead without the benefit of a Southampton Town Trustee's permit.
Right.
And therefore, this bulkhead, in your eyes, does not exist legally for all the right reasons. It did not need, at that point in time, a DEC permit, so with respect to the DEC, it's pre-existing. Now, the property owner went to undertake some additions to their house. The town had noticed that the bulkhead did not have a permit and therefore notified the property owner, and we're in the process of legalizing something that will provide some level of protection as well as satisfy the board here. So we had proposed removing that bulkhead, replacing it with a low sill bulkhead, creating wetlands behind it and in front of it, and then having, because of the grade, having a retaining wall about 6 feet landward of that bulkhead, or is it 4 feet? I have to look at the plan. 4 feet. Thanks, James. Landward of that bulkhead to retain the upper portions of the land that is kind of hanging over this bulkhead. It does slope down from the house down to the bulkhead, so the concern is we don't want to fill the little area there with any of the eroded material once the bulkhead's removed. So the combination between a low sill bulkhead to create the wetlands and then an upper retaining wall, I think would create a very nice buffer area that's going to be vegetated, as well as retain that soil from dumping into the cove. So you can see the slope there, and that's the concern.
Yeah, I'd really like to take a look at this myself.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like a whole
Yeah,
lot
I'd like to
going
go
on
look
for a
at this
small
one.
piece of property.
There's a lot there.
Yeah,
Um,
and
and
then
it-
with these docks, everything's
Yeah,
kind of,
where you kinda-
Yeah, I did meet on site with Bill Pell as well. He was in favor of this idea with a low sill bulkhead prior to you coming on, Joe. So, but happy to meet with anybody that wants
Yeah.
to review it in person.
I believe there's some history on this property already, and I think
Yeah.
we already had at least one, if not two, applications before us, and they never came back to finalize or to get any, resolution to what the problem is there.
Yeah, and I think this is a really good solution to it.
That's it.
We're gaining wetlands. The low sill will provide the protection to the upper portions of the property and keep it from sliding into the cove. And I think it's a net benefit.
I do think it's a fair compromise, given that it is not non-legal bulkhead, and that this is not we're not replacing what you have, we're just making it better. So
Agree.
argument.
Yeah.
That floater is pre-existing without a CO or without
It-
like
it
application
had
as
no-
well? Had no-
Yeah, there were no permits
Rubber hand.
on anything, so we're legalizing the dock as well. The dock has been there again since the 60s, so it seems to work with the neighbors. It is placed in a conforming location based on the Blue Book. But the bulkhead obviously is an issue, so that's why we're proposing this low sill bulkhead.
Do you think the low sill bulkhead has to necessarily be, an actual bulkhead? Could it, be something more along the lines of,
Something
building
softer.
back to- Yeah.
Well, we have not had a great success with anything that's softer, like core logs. We could do a rock wall, however, the vertical footprint of a rock wall is pretty substantial. So we wouldn't be able to get the native vegetation in there with a rock revetment. This allows us to get an actual wetland vegetation above the low sill bulkhead, as well as down below on the beach that's exposed during low tide, and then a buffer above the retaining wall. So it seems to be the best balance with respect to getting a buffer in there that will stay there and not slump into the bay. If we did a core log, I think core logs are designed to biodegrade and
Right,
fail.
Great over time. yeah.
So, because of the steepness of this particular slope, I think this is the best approach, I really do.
There was a pitch, I actually was there on site chip, so it's not too steep, but it's steep enough where I would say if it was a storm, there would be some damage there, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, but I mean, we're trying to make the low sill bulkhead turn more into a native vegetation whereby it should flood. and
Yeah.
ebb
Well, then
and-
it
ebb and
will.
flow and, yeah.
Yeah, every high tide.
And then on both sides of it is Phragmites,
There are.
so for all intents and purposes, those Phragmites are gonna migrate into that area.
Maybe.
Well, I mean,
You know,
realistically.
yeah, I mean, it's hard to
which is-
control
I don't know,
Phragmites, as
yeah,
we all
That's what I
know.
mean, is that
Yeah.
what the
I-
homeowners actually want, because they're gonna have Phragmites in front of their
Yeah,
house.
we could, if it does get to that point, we can come back to this board with a Phragmite management control.
Yeah,
So, which we've done, you know, you guys have granted those permits before. So, but I do think that this, aside from building a rock wall, which would, again, minimize the type of vegetation we can place there, I think this is a really good compromise.
Have you did a sediment sample of the bottom that's there? Because I'm familiar with the area, so if you're gonna, it's organic and Mark, it's about
It
8
is.
inches. So you're gonna lay rocks on, basically on a mudslide, and it's gonna literally slide.
Yeah, if we
In
were
that-
to propose a rock wall, correct.
Yeah, because it is a pretty vertical drop off. It goes from like 0 to like 5 feet and like 20 feet, and it's gonna
Yeah.
just slide in
Slide,
there.
yeah, a rock wall wouldn't,
I mean, I have done a couple, you know, these low sill bulkheads, one in, probably at Ponquag Manor, a second one right across the creek from it, and they're in the process of doing it. And I think it's a good way to maintain the wetlands as they are and not have any net loss of wetlands and actually have it, I mean, you can calculate how many square feet of net gain of wetlands if you want to
Sure.
present that to the board, but I think this is a win for the environment, because right now, we don't have any of these wetlands there.
there's
And
nothing.
it was done illegally, so we
Mhm.
go do a review of it and get a much better project in the end.
Yeah,
I still think that, based on the additional commentary and concerns coming from Con Board, I'd like to go look at it and just,
okay.
yeah, we
You-
need a
you may-
visual on
we
that
may,
one.
Yeah,
yeah, we need a visual on it, because there, you know.
I'm 100%
there's-
available
There's
for
a
you
lot
guys.
of pro and con all over the place, and I think that, you know,
Yeah,
we need
and,
to look at it and.
and just to let you guys know, and you brought it up earlier, they've been before the board, before the property owners directly, they tried to self-correct this themselves, and they've been at it for a long time. They've not been able to live in the house for close to 2 years until they resolve this issue. So it's a big issue.
I was gonna ask, like, I mean, is this,
And to get a perspective of when you remove a bulkhead, go down a 65 cliff and look what happens when the bulkhead is removed and
Hey, yeah.
and how the whole environment changes, so.
And I'm happy to meet on the board there too, because that's a tough spot right now.
Well,
Very
I'm
tough.
just giving you a
Yeah,
heads up.
you
of
don't want to
what-
bring it up, I know.
What happens.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Well-
that's why we need to put a lot of thought into this.
Where are they at on other
That's
permits?
yours.
They have other permits?
Or, no, this is yours.
You have other
That's
permits on
fine.
this?
Pardon me?
You have other permits for this? On the regulatory authorities?
No, it's, everything's being held up on this.
Everything's held up?
Yeah,
All
so the
right,
conservation won't go forward until we resolve with you
And
guys.
the state of New York?
State of New York is, right now, they have a non-jurisdiction
They have a non-jurisdiction.
because of the age of the bulkhead. We will have to, or the property owner will have to go back to them once this bulkhead's altered. So there will be other buffer areas imposed on this outside of your jurisdiction, if that's of any comfort, but
so these people basically purchased the house with a pre-existing bulkhead that was never permitted, and now they're kinda like in a jam.
they didn't know,
didn't
exactly.
know.
And it's a tough spot. I mean, they're a great family, and
50
they,
years old.
yeah, and they haven't been able to live in the house for 2 years now. It's a really tough situation.
All right, so let's schedule some on-site.
I'm happy to meet anybody, anytime,
Let's,
'cause I know
let's
it's an
hold
important
this,
issue.
and then let's.
Okay.
all right.
Thank you guys very
Thank you.
much.
That's all you have. at
That's
this
all I got.
important portion.
And I'm
Okay.
gonna leave you with my pen, because this red one does not work.
Thank you. Okay, so I have End Consultants.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
29 Shinnecock Road. Elias Jaghab Trust. Hello there, Mr.
Hey,
Herman.
how are you?
Hey, Rob.
Morning, all. Nice to meet the new trustees.
All right. I put a lot on today.
I see that.
Figured, it'd be good practice for the new trustees.
Oh, sure.
It's like an exercise. Okay, so this is an application for 29 Shinnecock Road, which is in East Quogue. Remove and replace, in place and up to 18 inches higher, approximately 77 linear feet of existing timber bulkhead, plus or minus 14-foot northerly return, backfill with up to 50 cubic yards clean sand to be trucked in from an approved upland source. 4-foot steps off the bulkhead. Thank you. 20-foot wide sandy area landward of the bulkhead is non-disturbance fertilized buffer. All is depicted on the project plan prepared by and consultants, December 10th, 2023. You're up.
I'm up. So this is a pretty straightforward application. This is a pre-1977 bulkheaded property. It is surrounded on all sides by bulkheading. This bulkhead is quite a bit lower than the neighbors. And so actually, in this case, the neighbors have been clamoring for Mr. Jacob to get this done. I'm going to just pass up a photo. This was taken by the neighbor just during the rains of last week. You can see the bulkheads to the north and south of this property, and you can see where the bay is just coming right in through them is right over Mr. Jacobs' bulkhead. So the proposal is to raise the bulkhead 18 inches, which would put it at the same elevation as the top of the vertically sheathed bulkhead to the south, and within about an inch or so of the newly reconstructed vinyl bulkhead to the north. When I was talking to James about this ahead of the meeting, and to clarify that the surveyed NAVD 1988 referenced elevations are the actual top of the vertically sheathed walls. So you can see right above where James is pointing that arrow, the neighbor has like a 6x6 or 4x6 timber tacked to the top of the wall. That is not the reference point for that elevation. The reference point is the whaler below it, where the actual top of the sheathing is.
The structural rail.
The structural, right. In other
Yeah.
words, I mean, you could tack six 6x6s on top, but that doesn't mean your bulkhead's 3 feet taller. So the referenced elevations here are to the actual functioning or the structural section of the bulkhead. The area behind it is that sandy area. I don't know if you have an aerial, James, but you can see there's basically this continuous sand buffer that's on this property. The surrounding properties, that was originally the subject of a Conservation Board permit from 20 years ago. So that would just continue to stay in the exact same condition as it is today and would match both neighbors. So again, with that said, that picture was timely because it visually depicts what the situation is there.
A lot of energy there.
Yeah. So,
I mean, for all intents and purposes, we should just go off the elevations of the plastic sheathed dock, because the other one's kind of variable, but yeah. The plastic sheathed dock to the, what is that?
yeah, so
to the
the,
east?
yeah, so that vinyl bulkhead to the north, if
North.
they went up to the very top of that, they'd be going slightly above 18 inches. And then it would put them slightly higher than the other neighbor. So this kind of sits them right. And I feel like this is what the board's done in the past, is we're kind of creating like as continuous of a line as possible
Yeah.
there.
Equal protection for everybody.
Right, that's kind of what we're going with. Plus, trying to expedite this, we went through the general permit process with the DEC, who builds into that permit an allowance to go up 18 inches. General permit from the Army Corps. So this is really our last stop in terms of them being able to have authorization to go ahead.
And it makes sense with what our prior thoughts were relative to this in an area like that.
I believe so.
So,
Be consistent with what we've done in the
right, I think
past.
this can advance.
Yeah, to advance.
Thank you.
I'll get out of your way. You have to get your engineer stamp plans, which I can do ahead of the next meeting. When is the next meeting, James? First Monday?
February 12th.
February 12th. Yeah, we'll have time to do that. Thank you.
Okay,
Here.
Just a weird little thing. It says Hampton Bays.
all right.
Oh,
So that concludes what I have. Now we're up to Trustee Warner.
Mahoney Living Trust, 13A Lighthouse Road, Hampton Bays, Surfside Environmental Planning.
Hello,
Morning, Daphne.
Daphne Vaughn, Surfside Environmental Planning. So, the owner wants to put an addition on his house, so he had submitted a letter of non-jurisdiction application to the Environment Division. Christian Peterson inspected the property and issued the non-jurisdiction for the proposed addition. However, he noted that there is a rock revetment and upland retaining wall landward of an existing CCA bulkhead, as well as a deck. So that is the subject of the application. The deck is 360 square feet. The rock revetment extends 10 feet landward of the bulkhead, and the wall is at that 10-foot mark. I did do some history on this, and I have some photos and aerials and some pertinent paperwork of 2 sets of each. Thank you. So the bulkhead was last replaced in 1998 in conjunction with the properties to the north, 11 and 11A, which were treated as one property at that time. They sought to raise it in 1998 by 1 foot initially, and then they had come back and asked to raise it 3 feet because there was constant problems with overtopping and scouring landward of the bulkhead. The trustees at that time only gave them 6 inches because that was what they had granted a few months earlier to the lot next door. So the former bulkhead had 2 brush jetties. There's still evidence of them there. They're obviously not in use any longer on both the north and south ends of the property, which were pretty much removed. So a larger 60-foot return was granted on the south end to replace the former 26-foot return. That original permit was granted in April of 1998. So in August, there was a letter that they submitted asking for the additional height, which was denied, and they were approved a modification to that permit initially issued in April, in August of 98, to amend it to add, there's like 1-ton boulders along the south end return, just for additional protection. The DEC had required that at that time. So 11A was sold. It was a vacant lot pretty recently, and this board granted a permit in 2022 to redo that portion of the bulkhead, and they were allowed to raise it a foot at that time. And they just received a CC on that January 10th from the Bay Constables.
They did the bulkhead without a permit initially, and then we caught them when they made them stop work order, and then they had to come in and do an actual review of their property.
Oh, okay.
So they didn't get an actual permit for the initial work.
Okay.
The property next door.
The initial work being the
new
bulkhead,
bulkhead,
landward of the riprap?
No, the bulkhead that is north of this property.
Yes. So the current photos, which I just submitted, show eelgrass as a rack line landward of the bulkhead in some portions. So waters are continually overtopping this bulkhead. I did not go out there last week to see what happened during those storm events. But you can see in the aerials that I submitted in 1996 was previous to the last redo of the bulkhead. And then '01, you'll see that the rock revetment must have been placed as part of the completion of that permitted bulkhead, probably to alleviate the issue they were having with overtopping in lieu of gravel, because the gravel then would have just washed into the bay. So 2004, the deck shows up on the aerial, so it's been there at least 20 years at this point. And the deck itself is not at grade. It's at grade at the top of the slope, and then it's sitting above the slope, as you can see in my photos, and it's braced to the bulkhead. So 2008, everything looks the same. 2013 is when Sandy happened, and you can see that there's some loss of vegetation and probably scouring landward of that rock revetment from the storm. Obvious was a big one. And in 2014, that upland retaining wall shows up. So I'm assuming that was to kind of level out the grade and kind of prevent additional issues from occurring. And everything has seemingly stayed status quo since 2014 to date. The current owners are Tim and Dana Maloney. They purchased the property from Tim's mother in 2022. His parents had redone that bulkhead in 1998 when he was a kid, basically. So he was a kid when all this work was done, and now just wants to have the property for his family. He's got 2 small kids, and he lives in California, comes out here for the summers. So he couldn't be here today because everybody is sick. So all the aerials show that there's constantly water either against or just forward of the bulkhead. And I think that is basically it. But all this stuff that I've given you is basically the record of everything that I just said, with showing the photos of the bulkhead before it was redone in 1998, the permits, the request for the additional height at that time, and then the modified permit, the minutes from the meeting where that was denied, and an older copy of the survey showing the brush jetties.
So only thing that's on the property that's legal now is the bulkhead?
The bulkhead is legal, yes, and the returns.
Yeah.
Deck is not.
No,
Deck is
the
not.
the
Deck
deck is
retaining wall
not.
and the, well, we would ask for some type of rocks to be placed behind the bulkhead. Normally, they're nowhere near as large as this because,
Right.
you know, we like smaller rocks and, you know, allows for permeability. The deck is completely illegal, and the retaining wall, which, you know, they're made out of you know, CCA non-compliant material. So I know we went back and forth on a deck very similar to this in Smith's Creek, and we had them remove it, right?
Correct.
And put compliant.
So the deck's not, I don't,
The
deck's-
deck is Trex decking, and
I-
it's plastic rails. The frame is treated wood, but it's also a CCA bulkhead.
But it was never permitted.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't see the deck working out. I don't know what you guys think, but I don't see the deck working
Well,
out.
my first problem with the deck is when you get a hurricane or a storm, it's gonna become dislodged because it's not put there very
Going flat.
stably. It's gonna wash away, it's gonna go into someone's pool or a hot tub or whatever, because we've had multiple occasions where stuff like this breaks loose and causes harm to people's bulkheads. Plastic vinyl bulkheads with a deck like this will get crushed, and then it becomes a problem in the future.
Well, it survived Sandy, technically speaking, because it's in the aerials from 2004.
It's completely
and it
rebuilt since Sandy.
Yeah, but it's never been permitted. from the
Doesn't,
start.
I mean, I don't see the deck working out. I'm just saying, I just don't see it working
I
out.
don't either.
If the bulkhead collapses, then that's gonna collapse.
so the fact of the matter is they had asked for it to be higher because of these issues.
The deck?
No, the bulkhead itself. So because the trustees at that time did not allow them to go any higher than 6 inches to match next door, they're continually having, overtopping. And I can understand why they would have put the larger rocks, because they're less apt to go anywhere.
So let's take this apart. Let's go, where's the ask? What do we got here?
All right.
What are we asking for? Let's go piece by piece on this
Legalize the
for
rock
you,
revetment
all right?
behind the existing bulkhead, which I'm okay with the rocks, because they're there, they're not gonna get washed out with any overtopping and, storm surges. That's okay part of it. And then an associated low-lying retaining wall, 12 feet landward of the existing bulkhead. Technically, is that gonna be in our jurisdiction, because it's 10 feet our jurisdiction and it goes to 12 feet, so this is something.
Conboard gave a letter of,
They threw it to you guys.
they punted to us,
Yeah,
so.
because it's technically hooked on the south
Right,
side
so-
return.
So there's the answer to that question.
All right,
She
so,
has a
so,
letter.
so we have that, okay,
But that was never, that was just added on later, correct?
right.
That
Yeah.
was added on post-Sandy, according to aerials,
So, but we have to deal with it now, because they've,
Yeah.
because they don't want to do it.
right, so that is now us, okay?
There's 126 feet of that retaining wall that runs behind the whole bulkhead. And then there's a return of 42 linear feet on the south side of the property and 31 on the north side. I believe they're permitted, is what you had studied in your.
Well, those are the returns on that retaining wall,
Non-permitted or permitted?
the upland retaining wall.
So they're
I
not permitted.
believe.
Well, that was- I didn't see, I seen just the.
Because the returns themselves to the physical bulkhead were part of that original permit and
All
are
right.
in place in accordance with that
For the
approval.
original bulkhead?
Yeah,
At the same length or shorter length, or?
so there's, if you can see my survey
So you
here,
get buried
there's a
there.
return here, and then this wall goes here
Yeah.
and wraps all the way around. So it's, basically, it's an upland wall that's matching the returns, at least the return on the south side. The north side is obviously a little more extensive, and that's just to hold the
But
grade.
those returns were never permitted that you're pointing to. The
No.
original returns for the original bulkhead are.
They were.
The original
Yeah,
returns were
these are
permitted.
permitted.
Right.
That's,
But-
yes. I'm not talking about the bulkhead
Yeah.
at all. I'm talking about the upland wall.
But the
That,
and the
that's
upland
what we're
wall was-
seeking approval for. So this is basically holding the grade that they were constantly having trouble with scouring out behind the rocks. So it's stabilizing the top of the slope, essentially.
Right, so removing them at this point in time,
Would just cause the grade of their lawn to fall down on top of the rock
of the
river.
negative impacts.
Probably.
Well, it does, on the storms that we've had previously and the one before Christmas, it does act as a shield to the overtopping and the wave action, because when I was down there 2 weeks ago, there was all eelgrass all around the whole entire
The-
retaining
the
wall,
re- yeah.
which, that shows me it had breached the bulkhead and the rocks in back of it.
That makes
The
sense.
problem is the currently non-compliant material.
Yes.
Right, so now, whether it's doing any harm at this point in time based on the fact it's not directly over water, right? And has everything reached it, it's just does not compliant.
Yeah, well, I mean, if we were gonna let it stay there, I'd like to see, have a covenant on there, that when it does expire, its usefulness expires, that it basically gets replaced with a product that's non-treated and has lessened environmental impacts than CCA, ACQ, and
Well,
these other ones.
Well, that's the thing, is that it's different, probably process was used on that than is available today, right? So you have to do the research on that.
Yeah, I'd say, it's ridiculous to rip it out, the proximity that it is. right now.
It's not in the water.
Yeah,
It's
it's
not in
not
the water, so I think the practicality of ripping it out and having them replace it is ridiculous.
negative,
Right.
negative
But,
impacts.
yeah, so, but for all intents and purposes, I think Ed's right. Like, if that's ever, you know,
It's gotta be
replaced, it's gotta be
conforming.
compliant to. So,
And it's gotta be recognized that we've taken jurisdiction over it too, because it is outside of our 10-foot, and the the Conservation Board did recommend that we take it, so it would be one of these permits you'd have to flag for future projects. But the deck, I think, just looking at it, I walked around it, it's not very, it's not something that I would have on my property as far as having for stability. I mean, it's very, it's 4x4s, and there's not much holding it there. With a hurricane or some substantial tidal surge, I could see that getting ripped out, so, and it's also much larger than we would ever permit. Correct, James?
Yes.
As I said at the start of this, I don't see that deck working out.
I could see it, what was our discussion, shortening it and making it into a smaller platform.
I mean, most of your decks that you allow would be like a 10-foot or 4x10-foot.
6x10 foot.
6x10-foot.
Yeah, something you could put a chair on, yeah, like a dock.
And we even try and, yeah,
I mean, what is the length of it as far as along the bulkhead there? Isn't it like
I think it was like
18 feet?
By 12, I think, I want to say something.
It's
like
it's 12 feet wide, I think it's 18 feet long.
Yeah.
So, like we said, what?
that. Hold on. Actually, it's 30.
30.
yeah, it's
29.
quite big. I mean, I was counting, I
Yeah,
was
it's like,
counting the
pilings.
the 16 on center, and I'm like,
Spacing, yeah.
that's, yeah, that,
yeah,
That-
it's 12 by 29.
that thing's gonna take a ride. As well as you say, it might have stood up to Sandy, I don't,
It's gonna take a ride, all right.
yeah,
No.
I don't.
Right out
I
of
don't
there.
think that's,
It's not gonna work.
yeah,
I mean, I could see a 6x20, something that would be like conforming to like a floating dock, and then having it built properly with helical pilings and properly,
it's gotta be tied in somewhere.
it's gotta be tied in.
Well, I would imagine if he was going to redo it, putting it on the corner of the bulkhead's probably not the smartest place. You'd probably have to inset it to
Well,
that upland
that was-
retaining wall.
Say you might wanna move it
To the stairs,
center
the
of
access
property.
stairs that's halfway down the beach, put the
Attach it to.
the decking
with
there, so you have
steps.
a deck. When you walk off the beach, you can put your stuff
we-
there, and then it would be it's more of a functional
We
thing.
generally are not in the decks, we're more like a walkway to access the boat, like more utilitarian than this is, generally what we do. We're more interested in the buffering and that sort of stuff, so this is not really,
So if you take the platform deck out of the mix right now and move it to the middle part of the property where you have the access stairs for the beach, so you'd have the access stairs to the deck, and then the deck would come up to the retaining wall with a small set of, like a small little walkway, and then, that would
Or
be-
just get rid of the deck altogether.
Yeah,
I mean,
That's-
that would speed the process along a lot easier for everyone, because that's gonna be a point of conflict as far as what's allowed, especially because it was put up without a permit in the first place.
yeah.
yeah.
Well, I think if there's an option for a smaller version of it, I can certainly talk to them and see if they would be amenable to relocating it closer to the stairs.
It would be more like
'Cause it would make
a
sense.
deck, not a viewing station as a dance floor as it is right now. It would be a much smaller version of it.
Right.
Something that we would historically permit behind the access steps to the water.
Yeah. That would make some sense. Okay. Well, obviously I have to have a conversation about that, but,
Back to the drawing board.
if the board is otherwise okay with the rocks, the wall, we're saying it would be a negative impact to remove.
Yeah, I would just.
In that situation,
You know
yes.
what, it would definitely be negative impact to remove, but I think that we need to examine this a little bit in terms of how we're gonna handle this thing because of the non-compliant.
Well, I mean, if you
Material
guys
part
wanna
of it.
take, I mean, I was down there a couple of times, if you wanna take a walk down there, or drive down there and walk down to the beach, then you can get a really good perspective on what it looks like in the elevations and the water and everything, so I think that would.
I think a lot of it also has to do with maintaining consistency in certain policies, so we're gonna have to look at it from various aspects here. And how we're
So,
gonna craft this.
I know you mentioned a covenant for if the wall is no longer functioning. The other option is eventually, this bulkhead is probably going to need to be replaced, because it was put in 1998, so I would imagine when that time comes, that they would be putting in vinyl and probably ask to elevate it to alleviate some of these issues that they're
Well,
having.
if you elevated 18 inches, then you could get rid of the retaining wall behind it,
Right,
so, but that's the future.
right.
We're
I
looking
mean,
at
So,
that grade looks higher than 18 inches though, just from looking at the photos. I'm not 100% sure.
well, it would probably still be a slope, because that slope is
It does look higher than 18.
pretty
Yeah, it's
big.
quite a bit higher
Yeah.
than 18. I'd
Just
say that's
on its own.
all of 2.5 feet.
Yeah, I was gonna say 3, but
One,
Should be
two,
right
there's
to
three,
me.
there's 3 6x6s there, or remember the 8x8s, I don't
I
know.
don't know, just the way it,
Yeah, but there's quite a good pitch
And
in a
then
short
behind
time.
it, yeah, there's a pitch behind it. I think Phil was brought in when they put the retaining wall in and elevated the whole entire property. These
I mean-
properties around it aren't that high.
For everyone worrying about the rack line in the middle of their lawn and thinking they're just gonna keep raising that to get rid of that rack line in their lawn, it's unfeasible. I mean, people are just gonna have to cope with the fact that there's gonna have to be salt water on their lawn. You know, we can't keep raising bulkheads up to facilitate that problem, so.
But that's a DEC question.
no, it's a big,
It's the reality
It's a
of the
major-
world that we're living in right now.
it's a major,
Yeah, you might wanna change, grass blends if you're worried about your lawn turning brown. That's kinda where I'm
Well-
at with it.
Well, I don't know that
Listen.
it's a lawn issue, I think it's just the fact that they were losing so much soil constantly.
it's a big problem. It's a big conversation
Yeah.
with sea level rise, with the dynamics of us having these super high tides and storms on a more regular basis. You know, you're gonna trigger this whole conversation about retreat and, you know, you just going into a giant holistic place here right now.
Right.
You know,
Elevate
if you
and
really wanna
retreat.
go. All right, so you have to go back to the drawing board. I think you have some
On the deck.
indication from the board
Yeah.
of what, and direction. We have to take a look at legal wording and what we're doing.
Yep,
The deck definitely is a non-starter. It has to be reimagined,
repositioned.
repositioned, rebuilt to compliant materials. It can't be, so you'll have to look at this again. So definitely on hold, and then I guess when you speak to your clients and have something substantive to come back to the board with, contact James, and then we'll,
Well, maybe the next step would be to do a sketch of what we're talking about before we go plotting
Yeah.
it onto surveys and.
absolutely. I think, speak to your clients, obviously, and then, let's, continue on in the process here.
Okay,
I think it's what makes the most sense.
I agree. Okay,
All right?
well, thank you. Appreciate your input.
Good start. All right, so that's on hold. And then you have the Christian G. Wilding Irrevocable, 6 Mill Pond Road, with Cole Environmental representing. You having fun today?
Oh, yeah. Congrats to the new trustees.
Thank you.
So Old Harbor Colony?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
So, we are just basically doing a bulkhead replacement here. We were in front of the trustees a month or two ago, and the comments were the raising was a little too high, so we reduced that from a foot to 6 inches. We have DEC general permit, we have DOS concurrence, and we should be getting the Army Corps general permit, but we fit into all their parameters, so we should be receiving that. So we've submitted stamp plans, and then we kind of jumped the gun before the final review, but that's
No, I
pretty
mean,
much
I
where
think
we're
that's
at.
what we had asked last time.
Yeah, he basically did everything that you guys had asked for, previous board had asked for, reducing the, height increase to
Yep.
4.2 feet rather than, I don't remember exactly what it was, I think it was like 18 or.
Yeah.
Do you have
I
any
think it was
information of how that would translate to what occurred in the last few weeks relative to the high
I
tides?
think it's still gonna get topped.
The whole entire
Yeah.
canal is gonna get topped.
Yeah.
I think there's one property in there that might not get totally inundated.
Yeah, and even if it didn't, it would get it from the other side.
Yeah, that was
so
the whole.
There's no escape.
There's no escape.
That was
Yeah,
our
there's no
whole
escape.
reasoning, is because if one person has a higher bulkhead and
Yep.
everybody else has lower bulkheads, it's gonna come from one side or the other.
Exactly.
And having it low enough so it can go back into the
Yep.
bay is
To not
a good.
stay on the land.
Yeah, puddle, yeah.
Right.
So, I
Good.
mean, yeah, I'm good. Everything we asked for is here, and I think we can move it ahead, right, James?
So because we have the stamp plans, we still need to come back to the next
No.
hearing?
No.
No.
We'll
Great.
we'll put it on for
We'll
general.
take it.
Plans are-
Great.
Okay?
Thank you. And we did have some other ones.
You have something else here?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so,
Well, you're down in, well, that's in another section. That's just on the,
we've been helping 21 Sandpiper, Cape McHenry LI permits, or should I?
you're,
Yeah, we're doing that one.
you have, is that correct, James? We have jurisdiction to, with Cole? Do we have the proper paperwork to address this?
Are you the new agent, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, she's also here.
You wanna,
You're
you want,
LI
Yeah.
permits. Okay, so she.
so why don't you join
Thank you.
them?
Yeah.
Why don't you join them?
Tell the homeowners here as well.
Well, that was advanced previous.
Oh. Yes. Yeah, we'll advance the other one, let all the tests.
So this one, we have been in front of the board several times. It's a low-sill bulkhead on a man-made canal where both sides have been bulkheaded for a long time. Is Tom the owner?
Yes.
And he's tried a living shoreline in the past, didn't work. So we're proposing a low-sill bulkhead. The difference of these plans now is the low sill is actually lower than originally proposed. The DEC had comments on the height, so we proposed to match what they proposed. So that's pretty much it. We have, the DEC has given us a complete notice, so we're doing the public notice procedure for them because it's a major permit.
Which we also have a receipt for.
And you've tried a lot of
We've
different things
received-
on this
we have
property.
it.
Yes.
You've tried everything.
Yeah,
You've
it's just
explored
a-
all practicable
Yeah,
alternatives.
just to review, we did try the coil logs, and that was a failure. I investigated a number of different options, including going down to the University of Maryland, where they do work on the Chesapeake Bay, to see if there were any environmentally friendly ways to keep the erosion at bay. There was nothing really coming out of them that was of any help. So our really only option was the low sill bulkhead. And our last meeting,
I think everybody was on board the last meeting.
our last meeting, they did do a show of hands on it, and everyone approved it based on
That was-
DEC's findings.
Yeah, that was a prior board, so we have three.
No, I'm just bringing
No,
it
and
up.
that's why I'm glad that you're explaining this to the new members. This
Right,
isn't like
and
he's
and I
showing
met
up.
with Matt last week at my property, so he was able to survey the property. I gave him the history of what we have done up to this point, where we have taken whatever measures we could, we've investigated whatever we could, and came up with nothing but this, and I think Matt was witness to the
Yeah.
tremendous erosion that we have on the property.
They're the only ones on the east side of that canal that don't have a bulkhead, so all that energy is coming up, it's just bouncing along the bulkheads, and it's going right onto his property. It's digging out the return to the southern property owner, it's undermining that, it's taking his trees and knocking them into the canal, it's a problem. It's, leaving it as is not really an option.
Yeah, no, we know that, just, you know, like some things, you know, it takes a while to arrive at with different types, but he's kind of tried everything.
Different approaches already.
Yeah, he's already exhausted all those alternatives, so I think it's important for the new members to understand, you know, to understand.
And we did spend money on environmentally friendly solutions, and all they did was rip up our money. So, and
They weren't very environmentally friendly.
And our last proposal from, you know, from a different firm was to come back and do coil logs again, which would have cost me $35,000, which would do absolutely nothing.
But the reality is, if a low sill bulkhead is done properly, it is environmentally friendly.
Mhm.
You do build wetlands,
Yep.
and you eliminate the severe erosional aspects of it. But the key is, it has to be done properly. Proper elevation, which is why there's adjustments here from
I was gonna say, I
Right.
think that was the DEC.
And that was the stickling
Correct.
point
And the
at the last
1.8.
meeting was we understand and agree, however, we reserve the right to wait until the DEC gives us their compliance with the height. And that was what the stickling point at the last meeting was, the height. And the DEC did come back with an amendment, you know, where they said that the height was too high, and it actually came down, what, 6 more?
1.8, they wrote it from 2.5 to 1.8.
Yeah, so it went down
Yep.
7 inches
So-
from where it was previously, so it's actually lower.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
because they want to make sure that the wetland
There's
that's
flow.
behind it is going to thrive.
Yep.
Because then it becomes an environmentally friendly
Mhm.
solution.
Right.
Not our first rodeo.
Of course.
You
So-
have to
so-
calculate each
yeah.
one of the bays, the tidal exchange, you know, like Shinnecock Bay might be different than Mauritius. So initially, when they calculate it, I think they have a standard, but you actually have to look at the particular bay. So if it's too high, you're not gonna have any wetlands that will flourish behind it. And if it's too low, then you're gonna get a
Still gonna
different
get
type of wetlands, and sometimes if it's too wet, they won't even flourish. So it's a balancing act that
Well,
needs to be done.
2 weeks ago, Sandpiper Court was a wetland. The road was a wetland. It was under a
As
foot
were
of
much
water.
of the roads in the town, even including Montauk Highway.
What a
In
disaster.
certain areas,
My road was a wetland.
were a wetland.
It was
So,
very bad, so,
you
so
have a big
we-
storm, all bets are off.
So we're just asking now, you know, for our permit so that we can move on and save as many trees as we possibly can. Because at this point in time, Matt has seen it. I have about 5 trees where the roots are half exposed, and time is kind of of the essence. And these are beautiful cypress trees. They're really, really nice.
Matt, should we advance it?
I have one question.
James has a question.
More technical, or not technical, but more procedure for the DEC. You're in public hearing for DEC. Do you expect any changes? And do you have a timeline for that? Just because I don't want you to have to come back for modification if they do approve it and then.
I'm not expecting any comments.
Okay.
Typically, those don't come back with any kind of comments, and especially
Well-
when all the.
And legally, they have
municipal-
90 days, right?
So
I don't
that's
think
it,
they
but-
usually take that long. though.
But that's an excellent question, out of respect for the fact that the gentleman's already spent a substantial amount of money. Do you want to, you know, based on the fact that everybody seems to be in agreement, do you want to wait until that has elapsed, since you can't take any action until that point in time anyway, before we, pull the
That's
trigger
kind
on
of a
this?
question for you,
Or do you
John.
want the approval?
in other words.
Well, my concern was this, I wanted to go away with the DEC has sent their letter back saying, pretty much, I guess, that their evaluation is done. And they have, any changes they asked for have already been made. So as far as, I don't think it's a pipe dream to think that it's an approval, okay? I don't think it's a pipe dream,
But it's not, though.
but it's not an
Does say that.
approval, and I understand
Right,
that.
which is why I ask you the question, because if you want to wait till that period has elapsed, and then, you know, just hold it till then, that way you know for sure where you're at, you follow, whatever, it's not gonna, no one's looking to pull the rug out from under you, and we're just trying to be sensitive to where you're at. I mean, it's
Yeah,
up to
because
you.
I wanted
you
to
know.
start to talk to contractors. You know, if I had a trustee's permit, I think that I would be in good shape talking to a contractor,
Well-
even if I was waiting for DEC.
Yeah, what the trustees are saying is that
Okay.
if we get their permit and the
Right.
DEC requests a change, we're gonna have to modify those permits. So we
Mhm.
won't.
You almost wanna get the DEC, like, make sure you got them buttoned up and then.
Sure.
and
Right,
then-
so we're
and then
just
we
trying to be
accept it.
Yeah, we're just trying to be
Save you headache.
sensible about it.
Right, that's what
Yeah.
we're trying to be. We're trying to be sensible about it, because you're not actionable until you have all of your ducks in a row. So we're just
Right.
trying to be sensible. I think everybody agrees. It's just a matter of, you know,
Mhm.
you know.
If it's advanced now, the next trustee meeting that it would be on for resolution would be February 12th. If they hold it today, then it would be March 4th.
Do you think you'll get the permit by then? So you could advance it pending that DEC permit. If you don't have the DEC permit, you guys just hold the resolution to the next meeting. Could do that, I guess.
I just don't want to spend any more money, you know what I mean?
No, because, yeah, if they throw a curveball and all of a sudden you're like, I
Yeah,
gotta.
I mean, I'll take the risk.
All right, well,
I don't think it's a bad risk.
public record now.
Yeah.
Let's go to the videotape.
Yeah, but you have to remember, you're working with contractors, they have to order this tropical hardwood.
Okay.
No, I'm just
It's-
getting prices and stuff.
And we
I
do
don't
have stamp plans, so it
Is that
will.
for us?
We do have stamp plans.
That's for them to keep?
Yeah, you can put that, sure.
You have stamp, you have stamp plans. You have
I just
stamp-
want to be
you have
toward
stamp
fancy.
plans for the updated 2.5.
Yes, that's
Put it in the
Make
pipeline.
sure it's not the old.
It's not a pipe dream. put it
January
in the
12th,
pipeline.
so
Yeah,
yeah.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
February.
Because I've been working on this for over a year already, so,
Seems like more than-
Oh.
yeah, I think so. Well, I've actually been working on it even longer
Way
than
longer.
that. But
All right. Good advance.
I appreciate your help. Thank you so much.
All right,
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day.
I had one stamp plan review.
but that's, I don't think we really need it.
We don't need me
have-
there.
Yeah, I don't think we need you for that. That's
Thank
for
you.
the board making sure, you know, you're represented by those stamp
Yes.
plans.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome to stay if you want, but.
Inner science.
Okay, so that was advanced. So now we have InterScience, Kevin Young, RT Agreement, 16 Stokes Lane.
Hello, good
Repsenberg, how are you?
How are you? Haven't seen you, so happy New Year. And
Happy New
hello
Year.
to new members. Sabrina Kelly from InterScience. I'm bad at talking and writing, so just give me one moment.
We'll wait for you.
Alrighty, so on this property, there is an existing dock that the trustees approved in the 80s. And the homeowner is just looking to do repairs to it, so when we spoke to them, we recommended that the existing dock be brought into conformance. There's an approved floating dock, but there's not really the soundings for it. It's not 60% light penetrating, it's not 4.5 feet above grade around the wetlands, and it doesn't drop down to 26. So when we worked with the architects to update the plans, we recommended that they do all of those things. So they're staying within the existing footprint of the dock, and they're replacing the floating dock with a 4x6 drop-down platform. It'll be light penetrating. It'll be 4.5 feet above grade until it hits mean high water, and then it'll drop down to be 26 inches per Blue Book. Yeah, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
I took a look at it last week. Seems good, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, one thing that the pilings, and you can see that they're rotting from the inside.
Yeah, exactly. They wanted to do some like major replacements, so we said, why not just make sure that
There you go.
everything is in conformance.
You good, James?
And the drop down is the same as what was there before?
No, there's a floating dock there now seasonally, but there's not really the soundings for it, so we're proposing to change it to a 4x6 drop down.
They don't have the water depth, so they
Yeah.
can't put a floating dock in, so they're just proposing a fixed.
Step down
Platform.
platform for
Yes.
getting out of the boat.
Okay.
Mhm.
You good?
Yeah.
Everybody's good?
Absolutely.
All right.
Joseph?
Great.
All right.
And the plans are stamped,
They're
I
stamped,
believe,
yes.
so you can advance that.
Okay.
Check plus for you today.
Great. Thank you. Have a good day.
Okay. All right. Now we're going over the general permit applications for determination of the final stamp plan review. Again, I have a lot of these on here. First one, FSK. 3 Carter. This is a combination along with Scott Realty at 5 Carter and Scott Realty at 7 Carter.
This is the three pieces.
Yeah, this is just a stamp plan.
Yeah.
Oh, received, changed, they go proper?
Yes, the stamp plans are up there if you wanna look at them.
Yeah, okay. Advance them.
Okay.
And we've got Sunset Equity Holdings LLC, 32 Sunset. It's another First Coastal project. All proper with the proper elevations on there now?
Stamped.
Stamped. And they revised the, yeah, they did, I see it. Yep, advanced. And then you have Colella 23 LLC, 23A West Diana. Okay, see,
Stamped, ready to
Yep.
go.
good. And, you got Vincenzo.
Vincenzo Osterita, 27 Lighthouse. All right, got everything we need there. Good answer.
Okay. God bless.
Bless you.
Chip,
We got the 98 Point Mecox Lane.
Chip and I went over this to catch him up to speed with his application.
Okay.
It wasn't on the board. And
plans are good, stamp.
yes.
And you got Galapina.
Yeah, it was just basically replaced as is
Yeah.
with a floating dock.
Good.
Yeah, advanced.
And another one,
This is just a reapplication, right?
These are just the stamp plans for what's already been
Work through.
gone through. They just have to.
Well, this one, the Galapina was already, they're just renewing it. They didn't get around to it.
right, here are the stamp plans. Good to go.
Yep. Okay.
Good.
Good.
Yep, good.
And 373 Millstone.
That's mine.
Got the plans?
I wanna come up and talk for a second, Scott.
You want to change something on this? Yeah, sit down, sign in.
Don't wanna change anything, but I have two parts of the project that weren't addressed by the DEC. They are, there's an existing dock there. Anybody that looks at the boathouse, the first thing you see is a little lighthouse. That existing dock was rebuilt by Rambo years ago. It's all CCA, and the plans that were provided by the Rayner Group don't show replacement. So I think hold the plans from the end, don't pass them.
Don't pass this one.
And let me go back to the Rayner Group, and I would propose 12 by 12 stringers and 12 by 12 stop blocks with 4 by 12 tropical hardwood green heart decking. The reason being is that dock floated away during various storms, and they had to
Okay.
go get it and bring it back because it's not tied to the existing fixed bulkhead. The other thing that I want to make sure that is on the engineered plans that isn't, is the walkway should be IPA decking with IPA stringers. And that's the only thing I want to change. We submitted the plans as soon as they were received, but I would.
All right, so James, you're
We
gonna
have,
have to,
we have a DEC permit. We don't need a Army Corps permit because it's a nationwide 3 maintenance project. So I would like the
board to hold it until I come back with minor revision on the engineer plan.
Okay.
And is that stuff included in the current application or
You
no?
might want a new current sheet, but yes, it was.
Okay.
You may need two
Modification.
things. You might need an update on the application sheet as well as the engineer plans, but I will.
Yeah, so let's get
I'll
that.
correspond with
James.
James.
Thank you.
Let's have them match up and then we'll put it on
DEC
for a work
didn't
session.
seem
for
to
review.
care, but anybody that's been by the boathouse knows the lighthouse is there. It floated away during various high tides. Personally, I like high tides, it's good duck hunting there. With southeasterly winds, it must be nice over where you're hunting. All except getting access to the duck blind. That gets harder every year, Ed.
It's further down the path.
No, we rowed boat over there, but Margaret Taylor blocked access.
I know, I
It's on
heard.
hold.
So, I'll come back to you.
All right,
Thank
John.
you.
And welcome to the new board member.
Thank you. We got 36-seater in Rensenburg. For coastal.
Stand ready to go.
It's ready to go. Billy, you go with that?
Good.
All right.
You good with it, right, Matt?
That concludes the work session, nuts and bolts. We do have an exec session, Mark. I guess I'll talk to you.
Hold on.
You got more stuff?
Yeah, the 6.
Walk
town
on,
line.
yes, we have a walk on. Mission to walk
Keith
on.
was gonna try to get here, but
He's not here.
he said he'd be here at 10:30 and he's
Chip,
not
second?
here, so.
Yeah.
Seconded by Chip, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so let's walk on an application, your area, right?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna pull up, the application we received on Friday at 5:30, so we have not uploaded it to the govern, so I'll pull it up from my email here.
This was presented as an emergency situation from the last storm, right?
Yes. This is the woman that called with a panic because the dune was disappearing in front of her house.
This
is
might
the,
be
Are you
from,
here representing?
Keith Grimes' office?
Yeah, come on up and
Yeah. Just
sign,
just
yeah,
in
come on
time.
up. You got
Good
here perfect
timing.
timing. If you could sign in and state your name for the record, because we're just about to discuss your situation.
Okay, my name is Jacqueline Clint. I'm here with Keith Grimes, Inc.
Okay, maybe you can give us an explanation.
Yes.
Someone missing a dune?
Apparently.
Well, getting there.
Yes, so it's approximately 90 linear feet in front of the property at 6 Town Line Road that has recently washed away. I do have photos. I don't know if everyone has
No, it would be,
copies.
no, we,
Yeah, go ahead.
Did those ones from Rich Franks make it in there?
Yeah, let me see.
I love these pictures.
I think she provided.
So we are proposing to install approximately 1,000 cubic yards of screen sand. We plan to stage the sand at the end of Town Line Road, transport the sand via payloader on the beach, install 1,000 cubic yards, sorry, very nervous. It should only take approximately 1 day, and then we'll sweep the road at the end of the project.
Chip?
Yeah, I mean, I'd advance it. You think it's gonna be 1 day and they're gonna run it all by payloader up and down the beach?
It's not, I would say it's maybe 150, 200 feet from the end of the road.
Right, so it's pretty quick
Yeah.
Mhm.
with the proper equipment. How wide is the beach there? Very good.
And you're staging the sand on the Town Line Road?
We intend to stage right at the end.
Have
we
you gotten
talked-
permission from the highway?
Not
department?
yet.
Yeah, give them a call.
I will,
Let them know.
yep. They're my next.
They're your next
my
stop?
Yeah.
Yeah, give them a call.
Should advise the Bay Consul that this is going on too, so that if
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
any questions
well-
from the public.
Send an email if you can to the Marine Patrol unit and let them know.
Are you gonna completely block the access with the material, or is it gonna be some public access?
I would say we probably block the entire area,
It'd be
as
short.
it's not a very large
Right.
space.
No, I know, I realize that. I'm
Yeah.
just wanting to make sure when we get phone calls to the office that we have an explanation.
Mark, should there be a condition pending approval from the highway department for this? Because in the description, it says stage sand at the end of Town Line Road,
Right.
which probably shouldn't be in there if the trustees don't
Well,
have jurisdiction on it. but-
No, I think it's okay that it's there. I just think there needs to be a note that they need to get permission from the highway superintendent.
Well, sure, but the fact that it's there is just stating that it's outside your jurisdiction.
Yeah.
But yes, James is right, absolutely, it should be contingent.
I mean, this is
Yeah.
Why is this,
their overhead. It's
I just want to ask, why is this in the
temporary.
nature of the emergency application?
According to
The
this,
storm surge has started to go underneath her house.
We're temporarily
The house
blocked.
is on pilings.
Right.
So
I mean,
How far
this-
are they?
you can see in the photos.
According to the
um,
overhead,
Yeah,
it's
it's
farther
starting to
out than
get
their, than
compromised.
their walkway.
So how much farther out from, okay, go back to the plans.
The overhead plan.
Yeah, what is the, so that's just a general description, so,
We just don't want you to go too far out from your walkway, from the walkway that's on there.
No, we intend to bring the conditions back to pre-existing before the storm. When the dune was, kind of towards the middle of the walkway.
right, so let's, all right.
So this
get-
is past the foot of the dune from 2017 in this description here. Would you want them to keep it at this line here, the foot of the dune? That was from 2017?
Yeah.
That's
that
most
what you're-
likely what we would do.
Yeah, I would say that should be listed in there as a
1,000
condition.
yards of material is not.
Yeah.
Not a lot.
I mean, I know it says general location, but I just want to make sure.
Well, just
that
make sure that it's gotta be landward of that line. I think and you're okay. Right?
Landward of the 2017 foot of the dune.
Correct. If
Yeah.
you could indicate that as a special condition in the permit, I think that
Then we're all
everybody would be
fine.
satisfied. You good with that, Mark?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do that. You do that, James?
Yeah, we'll just get the language from Mark and we'll work on the resolution,
I
I
think
guess.
that's reasonable.
Okay.
Okay?
For a walk-on at the regular meeting, is that this
Yeah,
afternoon?
if you can get it, yeah.
Yes.
Let's walk it on for this because it is an emergency situation. So if you can work with James on that wording, it should be pretty simple. Sure. Because it's an emergency type situation.
Now, we are intending on doing it Thursday, Friday this week. How likely is it that we would have permission by then?
Well, if we pass a resolution today,
Today,
You just gotta make sure you.
The highway and.
yeah,
the
give-
patrol.
make a call.
Yeah.
Make a call.
Make sure.
Just explain it's emergency and what you got going on. Call them. Like you said, they were your next stop.
Right,
So we can do our stop and then you gotta do yours with them and then you take it from there.
okay.
All right, and I think you have the wording, right?
And we just need the application and the hard copy of the application and the check for, to the office.
Okay, yep, I got that.
You could handle that today.
Yep, got that with me.
Are we clear?
to Hampton Bays.
Okay, you good with
And
advance?
stop at
Yeah,
the
we can
highway
do
on the way
illustration.
to our office, so you
Okay.
get it all done at one shot.
Okay, advance with those conditions.
Oh, okay,
All right, thank you.
thank you.
Any more walk-ons here? For emergencies? All right, so, that being said, I think that it's okay to I'd like to make a motion to adjourn, and, unless you have some other discussion that you wanna have before we go to executive session, is there anything anybody needs to discuss in open work session, or can it all be held till later?
Open for
Good.
later.
All right, so,
Later.
okay, so I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting and go into executive session for the purposes of discussing personnel and confidential legal advice, seconded by Joseph McLaughlin. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, everybody, we'll see you at the general session at 1. All right.